We are less than 40 days away from day one of the 2025 NFL Draft being here, and it is officially mock draft season. And Mel Kiper recently released his newest mock draft, and we're going to dive into it on today's video. My question to you is this: if both of the Colorado Buffaloes are on the clock when the Giants are picking, when the Giants are on the clock and both these guys are on the board, who would be your selection? Is it Shedeur? Is it Travis Hunter? Let me know. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. We're going to react to Mel Kiper and his newest NFL mock draft, and we're also going to talk about Daniel Jeremiah and his newest NFL mock draft. A lot to talk about. Let's dive into it. Number one overall, Mel Kiper. He has Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. And at this point, it almost seems like that pick is written in ink. Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State. He ends up going number two overall to the Cleveland Browns. Shocking a little bit to me that Kiper did not have a quarterback going to Cleveland, which means there's a QB on the board for the taking. And he has the Giants selecting Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado QB, to be the next signal caller for the New York Football Giants. The 23-year-old quarterback stands at 6'1.5", 212 pounds, out of Dallas, Texas, the son of Deion Sanders. I would love for Shedeur Sanders to be a Giant at number 3 overall. The question is, will he be available? And does maybe signing a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson change what the Giants are going to do in the draft? Kiper saying this about the pick: even if the Giants land Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, they need to think about the future under center. Rodgers is 41. Wilson is 36. Neither should be the long-term fix. That's why I still think the Giants could draft Sanders at number 3. And signing one of those veterans, two guys who have won Super Bowls, then double-dipping at the position with Sanders, would only help the rookie learn and develop. There would be no pressure to start Sanders right away or be the guy in week 1. In Sanders, New York would get a super accurate passer, 74% completion rate this last year, who is tough as nails. Despite taking the most sacks in the FBS over the past 2 years, at 94 in total. He's also tied for second in touchdown passes, 64 during that time frame. Sanders could provide some QB stability to New York for the first time since Eli Manning. When I first saw this mock draft, my initial thought was, is Shedeur Sanders falling to the number 3 overall pick? I'm not so sure. I think there is a world where they could take him. And Kiper even acknowledged that, saying this about the Browns selection: drafting a quarterback wouldn't be out of the question either for Cleveland. But the Browns did trade for Kenny Pickett, and it is still in the mix for Russell Wilson. Going with one of those elite 2 prospects in this class just makes more sense right now. I'll say this: if Kenny Pickett is changing your round 1 draft pick plans for a quarterback, you've got a lot of problems inside your front office. I just don't see how trading for Kenny Pickett makes you not want to draft Shedeur Sanders. Because it comes down to this: whether you have Kenny Pickett or you're not, Andrew Berry, the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, is going to ask himself this question: Is Shedeur Sanders a franchise QB? If the answer is yes, the Browns are going to take him. If the answer is no, the Browns will not take him, because the Browns don't have a franchise quarterback. And teams without franchise quarterbacks, they don't pass on franchise quarterbacks. So it comes down to does Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns believe he is a franchise quarterback? I thought it was interesting that Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah, who both released their mock drafts this week, had the same exact top 4 quarterbacks going. Top 4 picks going, Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. Daniel Jeremiah is saying this about the New York Giants selection he made: if Abdul Carter is available at number 3, that might change things. But in this scenario, they secure their answer at quarterback. Jeremiah writing this about the Browns passing on a quarterback. The Browns could be weighing taking Carter second and a quarterback in round 2 versus picking Shedeur Sanders at number 2 and waiting on an edge rusher until the second round. I think you can make a strong argument that taking Carter and waiting for a second-tier QB in round 2 is the better option. I have reached out to my friend Matthew Peterson, who hosts the Browns Report here at Chat Sports, and he told me this: local reporters lean quarterback, while national insiders lean non-quarterback. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Local people think the Browns take a quarterback, while national insiders like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper think they take a position player. I'll just cut to the chase. If Shedeur Sanders is on the board when the Giants are on the clock selecting number 3 overall, they should pick him, they should run, and they should go celebrate in the green room after you select the quarterback. Because I think he has more than enough skill to be productive in this league. Mel Kiper Jr. on ESPN today was asked, who's your number 1 QB in this class? He said this: I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to be steadfast in that. I've had him as my number 1 QB all along since last year, and I love everything about the kid. I mean, if you say, well, he takes too many sacks, yes, he has to get the ball out and tick faster, but he dealt with NFL conditions. Who had to deal with that? What you're going to deal with in the NFL, which you're going to have to survive in the NFL. He survived hit after hit. How he did it, I don't know. He was 11 of 13 games this year. 11 out of 13 games this year, he had a 70% completion rate or higher. He never completed less than 60% of the passes thrown in a game in 2023 when he was getting pounded. Pause. And getting sacked and getting hit time after time. He was at 69% and change with 27 touchdowns, 3 picks, 4 rushing touchdowns. That's 31 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So to me, when you look at Shedeur, accuracy, slip and slide in the pocket. Yes, he can get you a 3rd and 8, first down with his legs. People say, well, he's going to run a 4.8 40. Patrick Mahomes ran a 4.8 4. He doesn't have an explosive arm, they say. Near to Johnny Unitas or Peyton Manning. Okay, we all talk about explosive arms. You know, you don't need to have that. Tom Brady, another one, didn't have the most explosive arm or explosive legs at 52, 440. So you can win in the NFL. You can win big in the NFL going about your business like Shedeur Sanders does. I'm not saying that Mel Kiper Jr. is right, that he's the best quarterback in the class, because I think that Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the class. But what makes me sleep like a baby at night, what makes me excited about Shedeur Sanders being the Giants quarterback is this. The number one thing I like to evaluate for a college quarterback is, how do you perform under pressure? When the pocket is muddy, when there's nowhere to go in the pocket, are you able to reestablish the pocket? How's your pocket feel? Because we all just watched Daniel Jones for 6 years, and he was dog shit in the pocket. And Shedeur Sanders under pressure is better than Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. You see the stats on screen. Completion percentage, higher for Shedeur Sanders against pressure. Touchdown to interception ratio, the best among Cam Ward and Jackson Dart among pressure. And he barely puts the ball in harm's way. 8 big-time throws to 6 turnover-worthy plays against pressure. And he's not just dinking and dunking the ball down the field. Against pressure, Cam Ward threw the ball 12.7 yards down the field. Shedeur Sanders, 11.9. And Jackson Dart said, F it, someone's down there at 17.7 yards per throw under pressure. And if you want to talk adjusted completion percentage, which factors in drops, Shedeur Sanders had a 68.7% completion percentage under pressure, factoring in drops. If I have to live off one stat, one film advice that I've learned watching Shedeur, he can be productive in a bad pocket. And I think that translates the most in the NFL. He's also great when he's blitzed. If you're going to blitz Shedeur Sanders, you better have help on the backside. Completed 68.5% of his passes when blitzed this year. 15 touchdowns, just 3 picks, 11 big-time throws to just 3 turnover-worthy plays. And when he's kept clean in the pocket, when it's on time and it's on target, we're on schedule, Completes 81% of his passes for 25 touchdowns. So just 5 picks, 18 big-time throws to two turnover-worthy plays. If he has time, he can make throw. When he's blitzed, he'll beat you on the back end. And when he's under pressure, which he was 36% of the time this past year, he can still carve you up and complete 55% of his passes with an adjusted completion percentage, which factors in drops at 68.7. Shedeur has the tools. He has the mental ability and enough talent to be a successful QB in the NFL. I am more than willing to bet on the traits, the skills, the mindset that Shedeur Sanders has. If Brian Daboll can't win games in the NFL with Shedeur, you can't be this coach. I'm not saying he's a slam dunk prospect. I'm not saying he's a generational talent. But he has the tools, mental ability, and enough talent to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. He needs a team around him, like 28 quarterbacks in the NFL do. There's only about 2, 3, or 4 Superman in this league. There's really only one. His name's Patrick Mahomes. And he almost took the Chiefs again with a bad offense and a bad offensive line. Kind of been thinking about this thought here a little bit. Does the interest that the Giants showed in Matthew Stafford and the Giants showed in Aaron Rodgers, does that show what their interest is in the QBs in this class? Because they went all out for Matthew Stafford, willing to offer multiple picks, including pick 34, willing to guarantee $100 million. Does that peel back the curtain a little bit on their thought process of the QBs? Does that maybe make them not love the show that they don't love these QBs? Or does it show them that maybe one of those QBs won't be on the board when they're on the clock? Leaving round 1 without a quarterback is a risky business for Mr. Joseph Schoen. If you come out of round 1 without Cam Ward or without Shedeur Sanders, you could be in trouble. Because I don't think Jackson Dart is any longer going to be a round 2 pick. And neither does Mel Kiper Jr., and neither does Daniel Jeremiah. They both put out their most updated mock drafts this week. And Mel Kiper had Jackson Dart going number 9 overall to the Saints. And Daniel Jeremiah had Jackson Dart going number 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So for all the people that were like, we don't have to take Shedeur. We don't have to take Cam Ward. Jackson Dart will be there at 34. Maybe he will or maybe he won't. But I would say the 2 most connected people right now that make mock drafts and do this for a living, they don't necessarily believe from what they've heard that he will be there. So my question to you is this. Would you trade back into round 1 for Jackson Dart? Say you missed out on Shedeur. Say it goes Cam Ward and Shedeur 1 and 2. Would you trade back into round 1 to acquire Jackson Dart? Why for yes and for no? As we know, the New York Giants are picking 34th in the NFL Draft as well. 2nd overall in round 2. They need to hit a home run with that pick. And there are 5 guys that I love that fell out of Mel Kiper's round 1. Luther Burden. If Luther Burden is on the board when the Giants are on the clock at 34, he's got to be a Giant. Connerly, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, dog. Gray Zabel can play anywhere on the O-line, tackle, guard, or center. Would love to have him. Tyleik Williams, a force of nature at D-tackle. And Darius Alexander out of Toledo, a really good D-tackle. I wanted to show these guys because you can get an impact player at 34. And Joe Schoen needs to hit on that pick. That should be a blue-chip prospect. That should be a guy that's competing to be an all-pro and a long-term starter for this football team. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up, and let's go Big Blue.